In April, the state government announced that the Northern Regional Office of the Roads and Traffic Authority was being moved from Newcastle to Port Macquarie. But after that initial shock comes news of what the restructure will cost in jobs. Even after accounting for transfers to Port Macquarie, there'll be 34 fewer positions in the RTA's Newcastle zone. An RTA spokesman says the cuts will be across the board, but the hardest hit department is expected to be roads design, losing half its staff.
It designed the west of the Lake Freeway, it's designed Highway 23, it designs all the roundabouts and traffic lights for this region. So I could see those areas probably privatised and jobbed out to the private sector.
Mr Gaudry says the Hunter can ill afford more job losses.
And most of those workers have got wives and children. They're involved here in the Newcastle community. They're now having to face redeployment or retrenchment, and that's a very strong social impact.
A spokesman for the Public Service Association says the Hunter's loss won't necessarily be Port Macquarie's gain. He says the job transfers to the RTA's new regional office are only making up for savage cuts already felt in Port Macquarie. And Northern Tablelands MP Ray Chappell is meeting with Roads Minister Wal Murray on Wednesday to discuss the planned culling of 15 RTA positions from the Glen Innes office. Scott Bevan, NBN News.
This sprightly 86-year-old is no stranger to helping people. In fact, she's been doing it most of her life. 27 years as president of the Ladies Auxiliary and electorate assistant for many a parliamentary candidate, Frida has decided to slow down just a bit.
Well, I'll still be a member of the auxiliary, so I think I'll still be working there. But I'm not going to do the ordering for the kiosk and marking things up and being there at beck and call every day.
First becoming involved with the hospital when her daughter was matron, Frida has seen many changes and with 6 other Auxiliary Foundation members raised more than $300,000 for the hospital and its patients. Her greatest achievements?
I think finishing off and replacing all the old hospital beds was one of the major ones. That was last year. And building of the hospital chapel.
With government cutbacks and reductions in hospital funding, Frida sees the auxiliary taking on a different role.
The governments can't supply all the niceties that happen in hospitals, and we do that. And the money we get won't be as much as we used to get because the people are having shorter stays in hospital. There are fewer people in hospitals. And therefore, we have fewer customers in our kiosk, and our kiosk was the biggest fundraiser that we had.
Frida steps down from her role as auxiliary president tomorrow, 27 years after her election to the day. To honour her work, a function will be held tomorrow in the hospital grounds with Regional Director of Health Alan Jones and Deputy Premier Wal Murray in attendance.
A grey morning dawned on Lighthouse Beach at Seal Rocks to reveal 50 whales, the false killer species, strewn along the sand after apparently stranding in the early hours of the morning. Such groundings continue to defy explanation, although they've been recorded periodically since the 1800s, including 2 in the same area over the past decade. One thing is clear, the whales are in distress, some battered and bleeding after hitting rocks as they came through the breakers.
When we got here, they were almost drowning because they were still in the water, a lot of them, and they couldn't get their blowholes clear. So they're under great distress.
Word spread quickly, with locals, holidaymakers, rescue and emergency services converging on the beach. Volunteers took to the surf to do what they could for the struggling 1 and 2 ton creatures thrashing in the shallows. A calf separated from its mother escaped the shore for the uncertainties of the deep, but other whales launched from the beach turned back. With a falling tide, they were left high and dry.
As the sun gets up a bit more, they're drying out so much.
Waves of volunteers kept up a stream of cooling water, some adopting the stricken creatures as their own.
I don't know, I thought because it's a baby it might have a chance of living.
We'll stay here as long as they some satisfactory method of surviving, you know. Sure, I'll stay here.
Exhaustion took its inevitable toll, several whales dying by early afternoon. According to rescue authorities, the only way of getting these whales back into the water alive is to move them to a calm enclosure. That means trucking them from the beach. As well as those problems, there's the incoming tide later tonight. It will wreak havoc on all the hard work done by volunteers throughout the day.
As soon as the tide comes back in, they'll start thrashing around again. They're too tired to go back into the ocean.
Rescuers will work into the night using four-wheel drives and trailers in an attempt to transfer the whales from the isolated site to a holding pen in calm waters for a later release.
It's going to be a huge and very long task. It may take a matter of days.
Whales have been known to survive for 3 days out of the water, and it looks like being a long night for those keeping vigil. Andrew Lobb reporting for NBN News.
Two-year-old Hayden Fox from Balcolin near Morisset was badly burned about 2 months ago.
Hayden just grabbed the teapot and pulled it down onto his chest and his arm, and it was all so quick, you know, 1 minute we were all just standing there and next minute he pulled the teapot down and burned himself.
Hayden was taken to the John Hunter Hospital requiring a skin graft. Dr. Patricia Davidson used a revolutionary machine known as a Dermatome, which is specially designed for skin grafts on children. It's similar to a razor, but more precise.
We can measure the exact size and depth of the skin that we need, so we can marry up the donor skin to the burns, what's necessary for the burn injury.
The results were pleasing, but the equipment was only on loan. Other burns victims in the Hunter wouldn't have reaped the benefits of the new technology. So Hayden's father suggested to fellow workers at the Mayuna colliery that they put in for the $8,000 machine.
A lot of blokes that at work got young kids themselves. I think they want the best of care, the same as what we want.
Miners in Newcastle and the Valley are known for their generosity to hospitals, and within 24 hours more than 300 men had agreed to take home a little less in their pay packets that week. Workers from the colliery presented the burns unit with their own Dermatome machine today. Jane Anderson, NBN News. The Awabikal people have leased this hall from the Uniting Church since 1988. They've used it for a preschool for 30 children under the age of 5. However, the building's future was threatened earlier this year when the Uniting Church wanted to sell it. Fortunately, the State Land Council agreed to buy it. The director of the preschool, Julie Russell, stressed the need for such a facility. She believes it'll encourage more Aboriginal people to stay at school.
Other schools with their statistics of attendance and their enrolments of Aboriginal people, it's not happening. They don't attend there. So we provide a place here for the Aboriginal children to come and feel comfortable with an all Aboriginal staff.
The rescue mission worked through the night, about 150 people desperately fighting to keep the whales alive. Some put themselves at risk working at cool 6-degree temperatures, getting in and out of the surf.
We've had a couple of cases of hypothermia. In fact, yesterday I believe we had one heart attack victim as well. So a lot goes into rescuing a whale.
5 of the original 49 false killer whales have died. The main thrust today to transfer the surviving mammals to a calmer bay around the headland in preparation for release. It was a traumatic time for the volunteers, moving the animals they've nursed, some for up to 24 hours.
Come on, Hope, it's okay. And no,
A Navy Sea King helicopter was brought in to try and hoist the 2-ton mammals, but trials proved too distressing for the whales. 44 whales were taken by trailer to number 2 beach at Seal Rocks, a 2-kilometre journey. They were slipped into water with carers gently holding them, making sure they could breathe, giving them time to regain their strength. The rescue is working to military precision. Of the 1,000+ people that have come down to the beach, about 100 are working in the water at any one time, rotating on 15-minute shifts. By late afternoon, a decision was made to release the stronger whales. 3 bull leaders were put in a special cage. With the help of surfers, 13 of the mammals headed seaward.
Well, our opinion is that that's the best chance. Get them out, go out to sea, and they'll get a chance to survive.
It's believed the remaining 31 whales will be held overnight. Many are in obvious distress. It's hoped they will be strong enough to be released tomorrow morning. Experts are still at a loss to explain why the whales beached themselves. They say it remains a mystery of science. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Noctiluca scintillans algae, often referred to as red tide, is what's attracting so much attention. It's the largest bloom recorded in the lake for several years. The algae is found normally in small sections, but the extended fine weather has helped the algae to multiply quickly. Alan Crapp from the Environment Protection Authority says excess nutrient levels due to treated sewage effluents and urban runoff has provided the algae with a plentiful food supply. Also, dry weather has left the waterway clear, allowing sunlight to penetrate the water much deeper than normal, providing a greater area for the bloom to grow. Unlike blue-green algae, red tide is not toxic and in no way harmful to humans or aquatic life. With the next strong wind or rainfall, the algae will disperse itself naturally. Catherine Lamond, NBN News.
Tennis action at Tuggerah. It all started on Monday. Almost 800 games later, it was finals time. And then Newcastle and the Central Coast flexed its tennis muscle. Just a few results in the under-16 girls. Newcastle's Jenny Fletch beat Trudy Musgrove 6-2, 6-1. Mixed emotions in the Healy household at Gosford tonight. Nathan beating brother Ryan in the under-12s. Maitland's Jonathan Russell beat Gosford's Paul McKeowney in the 13s. And Tuggerah's Julie McVie won the 11 girls 7-5, 6-1. So endeth the junior tournament, but the Tuggerah courts will be alive again tomorrow as the senior state championships get underway.
Sporting academies from throughout New South Wales are taking part in the second NIB Games, a series of contests between the academies and their young chargers. At Broadmeadow Stadium this morning, a more leisurely affair as the athletes, coaches and friends form part of the opening ceremony. The 4 academies that are taking part in the competition were each represented at the presentation of plaques. Shelley Roberts of Illawarra, Deanne Hoskins and Peter Mallett from North Coast, Melissa Dillon from Western and Natalie Evans of Hunter. Managing Director Cole Rogers had the honour of launching the Games. And when battle began, Hunter took the points in the basketball match against the North Coast. Playing in blue, the Coast got out to lead well at half-time, but in the second half, Hunter found their feet and with aggressive, if at times quite physical play, stormed the lead and never relinquished it, winning 57-50. And would you believe it? Cricket is on the agenda at Gresford. Illawarra in the field clashed with North Coast in 2 fixtures today, and there was a lot of bright play. Matthew Lampard hammered the attack at the end of the innings, and at the other end Darren Smith did likewise before holing out at mid-on. In the other match, big hitting was the order of the day, and Randall Starr grabbed a super catch. And at District Park, tennis was also part of the Games, Grafton's Matt Coates blitzing the opposition in all his matches.
Port Stephens is known for the significant number of koalas which inhabit the area, but each year many of the marsupials are killed by cars. In the Port Stephens Shire since 1989, 90 koalas have been reportedly hit by cars. 14 of those have been on this 2-kilometre stretch of Richardson Road. To try to stop the deaths, Port Stephens Council and the RTA are erecting special wildlife reflectors along Richardson Road and a section of Lemon Tree Passage Road. The reflectors have been used successfully overseas and for kangaroos in the central west of the state, but this is the first time they've been trialled on koalas.
We're actually trialling it now during the koalas breeding season, because that's when most of them get hit. About 70% of the koalas hit on roads occur during the breeding season, which is from August through to December.
The reflectors are positioned 20 metres apart on both sides of the road. As the car approaches, its headlights hit the surface of the device and the light is deflected into nearby bushland. The koalas are momentarily stunned by the light, allowing the traffic to pass before the marsupial resumes its journey. It's hoped the reflectors will save many koalas, like this little chap who was hit earlier this week. But his tale of survival is not an ordinary one. Don Barnett of the Hunter Botanical Gardens takes up the story.
The Frenchman concerned, the driver of the car, ran into it in Raymond Terrace. He got out, he thought it was a dog and thought the dog had run away, and he started off down the highway, and this chap behind him followed him, and he could see the koala hanging underneath the car, and he didn't catch him for another 5 kilometres, or he couldn't make him pull over for another 5 kilometres, and when he did, they came in to get some rescue work done.
So what have you nicknamed the koala now?
We called it Velcro because it'll cling to anything.
It's been a bit dry around Maxville for some time, but last night the heavens opened and another Aussie tall tale was created to the amazement of our visitors. Fish as big as your arm in the middle of the playing fields. The USA team has been in Australia for a 3-tournament tour and their performance in the saddle has improved with each outing. Today they went down 7-11 to Maxville, but Team USA's form was good. They return home shortly with a lot more experience and the knowledge to help players and umpires alike on their arrival.
The development project was to be funded under the federal government's Better Cities program, but the money is allocated through state government recommendations. Yesterday, State Planning Minister Webster said Newcastle was missing out. As the old wounds of lost opportunities, such as the frigate building contract and the failure to establish an Australian Maritime Safety Authority headquarters in the city, reopened, federal member for Newcastle, Alan Morris, hit back at the Planning Minister's accusations that petty political bickering and point scoring had cost the city its funding.
The irrational and the outrageous comments made by Webster are just so out of order, as to say there's much more to it.
Mr Webster slammed the Labor Party's campaign to retain the Newcastle rail line, which he sees as a drawback to Honeysuckle's viability, an issue that for some has taken a back seat.
Public awareness to the railway line is probably out of proportion to its significance.
With the Deputy Prime Minister, Mr Howe, pledging his support for the Honeysuckle plan just last Tuesday, Mr Morris suspects other reasons behind the state government's $71 million back down.
As soon as the Commonwealth says, yes, it's good, we'll fund it, the state says, aha, can't do that, and then start to look for reasons why not. Now, one gets the feeling that they were never ever genuine, that the whole thing has always been a bit of a furphy.
Tell that to the Honeysuckle Development Corporation, who've seen the so-called jewel in the city's crown become a fairground attraction overnight. It's now hoped low-key tourist attractions and market days can sustain a viable plan for the site.
It's not anywhere near a body blow. In fact, if we can put Better Cities funding to one side for a second, Honeysuckle is on track with its timetable of development.
Monday will see urgent discussions between local politicians and civic leaders who will attempt to strike a compromise with the state government. Andrew Lobb reporting for NBN News.
As you would expect from two of the best defensive teams in the Winfield Cup, no quarter was given. Possession was guarded as if it were the crown jewels and attack limited to rare opportunities. The game plan was rigidly adhered to by both the Knights and the Steelers, with nothing between the two teams except a single penalty goal.
We stuck to our game plan, we worked hard at it. The boys worked extremely hard when I come off and, we stuck to it and we've come out winners.
Although dropping from second to fifth on the points ladder, the Knights are still on track for a semi-final berth. They are already talking about the grand final type match against the Panthers this Sunday at Marathon Stadium.
We had to win two of the next 3 games. We needed 4 points out of those 6, which are our goal. We're on target to do that, and we look forward to the game next week. Our players are already talking about the fact that we've just got to do that again next week, and they're looking forward to it.
For Illawarra's mentor, a couple of moves after half-time did the trick.
Matched them in the forwards in the first half, and I just thought maybe if we had a couple of breaks in the second half, our backs might take over, particularly with Pincinelli and Dunn coming on at half-time. That little bit of footwork upset the Newcastle forwards, and luckily enough, Pince was got a great ball away to McGregor on the try, and Ryan kicked the goals for us.
But while praising the Steelers, he left no doubt about the Knights' future.
We had a draw with them in the first round, and I wasn't unhappy with the point, as I said up there. And then the 2 points we got off them today, they're going to be a headache to a lot of sides. And, I'm glad we're finished with them and they're in our side of the competition.
A full replay on NBN tonight at 10:30. And at Broadmeadow Railway Station today, the latest in Knights support, a giant mural painted by Basil Stemp, an SRA employee who officially hangs up his brushes on Friday after 20 years with the railways. Basil and the SRA have dedicated the work to the Knights, and the mural carries with it a fixture board. That board graphically spells out the next major battle at home to the Panthers on Sunday.
It was just before 10 p.m, 2 kilometres south of the Hawkesbury River Bridge. Both rigs were heading south in the same lane.
He attempted to change into lane 2
and upon doing so, realising there was a car there, veered back and went into the back of the other truck.
Paramedics treated the driver on the spot. It took firemen from the Barara Brigade more than 1 hour to free the man from the tangled cabin. Hornsby Police blocked both southbound lanes, making way for the Westpac rescue helicopter. The driver, whose name has not been released, was transferred to the Royal North Shore Hospital suffering arm and leg injuries. The driver of the other semi was not hurt. Meanwhile, this morning, a 39-year-old woman was injured in an accident on the scenic highway at Avoca. Her car left the road and smashed over an embankment, coming to rest on its side. The victim was trapped for 3/4 of an hour. She received treatment at the scene and was taken to Gosford Hospital with minor back and head injuries. Her name has not been released. Anthony Griffiths, NBN News.
Four days of solid competition between the New South Wales Satellite Academies of Sport has provided an evaluation of the effectiveness of such sporting bodies both on and off the field, and it was all positive.
We set out to provide good competition for the kids, and we certainly did that, and we also had an excellent meeting of the coaches and a lot of good interchange, so it was very worthwhile.
The Hunter Academy of Sport dominated most events with a win over the Central Coast in the bowls 95-45. Craig Dinning of Hunter won the wave skiing, while Elizabeth Preston of North Coast was judged the Encouragement Award winner. And Hunter's Greg Borer and Andrew O'Brien were successful in the two-man time trial cycling event. For the regional academies, it was important competition.
Well, particularly the North Coast and the Western Region kids, Mike, they don't get the competition that our kids and the Illawarra kids tend to get, and they were very happy, and they sort of were most enthusiastic about the concept.
And a big expansion to the Games is planned.
Certainly Northern Inland and the Riverina will be here next year, and as I've said to you before, we're looking at expanding into both Victoria and Queensland, and I'm sure that will be on the cards for next year.
Future students at the University of Newcastle may one day pause outside a particular administration and teaching block and wonder who was Bowman. And according to those in the academic fold, that alone will help perpetuate the name of one who has served a distinguished career with the uni. Margaret Bowman broke into the male-dominated world of campus councils and helped steer the development and ultimate amalgamation of 3 teaching institutions into one.
It was a time of great fear and anxiety for a lot of people, but I think that what we've come up with is a good institution that'll serve the region well.
Described by former colleagues as energetic, forthright and fearless in her work, Margaret is respected for her common-sense approach to difficult situations. Wife to the member for Swansea, Don Bowman, one of Margaret's greatest personal challenges was overcoming injuries sustained in a horror road smash on the Pacific Highway near Belmont in December 1989. It's been a long time coming, but today's staff had the opportunity to show their appreciation for Margaret Bowman's contribution to the university.
Julie Campbell has been in business for 25 years, the last 9 managing, together with her husband, this small business at Tomago. She's a woman with her mind firmly on the job, so much so she's been voted the highest achiever for this year. But Julie says she isn't the award's solo recipient.
Yes, it is a celebration for all women in the Hunter region because it shows that women can achieve, they do achieve, that we have very many of them doing that every day here.
The mother of 2 says despite the evolution of women's rights in the workforce, there's a way to go. And Julie believes she has the secret to success.
Try anything that you are asked to do. At the time, it may not seem relevant to your career, to what you want to do, but it's amazing the doors that will open.
It must rate as one of the most optimistic scams around, an investment that offers a 10,000% return in just 1 month.
We've only had about 20 come to our attention in New South Wales, but I'm sure there are thousands upon thousands of people out there with these letters.
Consumer Affairs is investigating a new rash of pyramid letters across the state. The letters call for people to deposit $50 into a given bank account, add their name and account to a list, and send out this revised list to another 100 people. The theory goes after a series of weeks, their name comes up as the one to accept the bank deposits. We contacted one of the pyramid players. He genuinely believed he was on a get-rich-quick deal, expecting to make $500,000 over the next few weeks, all for a $50 investment.
The chances of making that sort of money are quite remote. The people, experience shows that the people who benefit from these types of schemes are generally the original promoters, and then it's questionable about the money they make. People further down the pyramid certainly will lose their money.
The letters have been illegal since 1974, and new legislation provides a $20,000 fine for promoters of the schemes. In the slight chance that an innocent participant did profit from the letters and is caught, all money is confiscated by the authorities. Peter Ryan, NBN News.
Open-cut mining may be efficient, but it takes its toll on the environment. The New South Wales Government has developed strict guidelines to ensure mine sites are rehabilitated, but in Queensland that hasn't happened. Hoping to repair the damage, the Queensland Coal Association has given a grant of $1.7 million to Newcastle University lecturer Gary Wilgus and a team of Queensland researchers. Over the next 4 years, they'll develop computer modelling tools to assist in the rehabilitation of 20 coal mines. On his computer, Gary can show erosion and runoff at the mine site and how that can best be controlled.
It's all about trying to develop improved ways of assessment of erosion on mine spoils and trying to come up with better techniques for rehabilitating mines.
While the project is Queensland-based, the technology has far wider implications.
This project will lead us to having tools that are better than anything else that anybody is using anywhere in the world, including the United States.
Gary believes the technology will eventually be used in Hunter Valley mines and those in Gunnedah, and it's not only for coal mines. He's already developed computer modelling tools for the Ranger uranium mine in the Northern Territory, enabling the mine owner to see far into the future.
The assessment that I've just completed at Ranger, we looked at 1,000 years into the future. But there's no reason why we can't go 2,000 years, 10,000 years. I mean, the sky's the limit.
Barry Madison's winning smile soon faded. Margaret tested positive to xylazine. It's a sedative, not a stimulant, but the Harness Racing Authority is cracking down on all drugs.
We knew we wouldn't get away scot-free.
Madison told yesterday's hearing he didn't touch the horse. Margaret had become tangled up in a wire fence. A friend had administered 5 mils of thiazine to calm him down. The end result? Margaret disqualified, a $1,000 fine and a 6-month suspension for the man who leads both the trainers and drivers' premierships.
It is severe, especially when we've had 45 years of our life in racing. It's the first time ever. Stewards went right back to 1965 and, you know, we've got a very clean and very good record.
And this jeopardises your premiership aspirations?
It has a bit,
Madison confirmed today that he will appeal. Anthony Griffiths, NBN News.